Glory to you, Lord Christ.
But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good things to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. As you wish what others would do to you, do so to them. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? Even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Amen. Please be seated. So we do have a passage still continuing the Beatitudes in Luke's version. So we'll be touching on some of that stuff today. Folks, in my office, I do have an office of passages, kind of cool. You will see on the wall three rather large certificates from the military time. Of course, it's my show-off wall, You always have to have one of those, your trophy wall. But there's 3 certificates on there. The title of all the certificates are the exact same. The graphics are a little bit different on each of them. The signatures are different on each of them. But the certificates come from my time in the cavalry. And the certificates are the Order of the Spur. And the Order of the Spur is basically what makes you a cavalryman. Even though I was a chaplain, because I had earned my spurs, I'm also a cavalryman. All right, so it's kind of cool how that works out. And that means a lot. Earning your spurs really does mean a lot. It has set you to kind of the next level of being a soldier. There's a code. And you'll see why it's the next level of being a soldier in a second here. But to earn this, there's 2 ways you could earn them. You can go to combat with a cavalry unit. So I got 2 certificates from that. Or you can do a spur ride during peacetime and earn your spurs that way. Now, that's an interesting event. The spur ride is 72 hours of, I guess, our snowflake generation would call it hazing. Us older generation just call it getting tough, building character. Okay, that's what it was. It was a tough time. It was 72 hours of proving yourself that you were a cavalryman, and then also with the people who were going through the spur ride with you, building as a team to get through it together, right? Because the goal was everybody makes it, and you pull everybody through with you. It wasn't an individual thing. It was a team effort. And of course, each of the teams had silly names. I probably can't repeat some of them in here because it was a military thing, so, it's risque. But you did basically events. You did land navigation. You did cavalryman skills. You did all sorts of different events. And of course, you were kind of hazed in the middle of it all. You'd be doing push-ups all the time. You were getting yelled at, kind of like back in basic training. You were called spur maggots. It was an interesting time. It didn't matter. I was a captain at the time, and I was a spur maggot, and I had to listen to the young E4 who had his spurs because he was a spur holder. I was nothing. It was quite an event, but when you got done and finished with it, and you were exhausted and tired as you've ever been in your life, and you sat on that saddle and got your spurs, you were like, I have made it. And you did. You sat on your spurs, you sat on a saddle, and they awarded you your spurs. quite the moment. Definitely something that's really neat. So, on that note, let me ask you all a question. Do you guys know what the true symbol of knighthood is? Off chance? Now, of knighthood. Knighthood, you know knights in England? Where you're? The true symbol of knighthood wasn't when the queen or king, I dub thee Sir Bob, No, that was simply just the ceremony, and them walking through the liturgy of knighthood is what that was, basically. No, the symbol of knighthood was the spur. When a soldier or a horseman received their spurs, they became knights. Pretty cool, huh? When you stripped a knight of his title and everything, you stripped him of his spurs. He was no longer a knight. So kind of a cool thing, and that's why I kind of see when I'm talking about the spur ride. Like I said, you were going from just an average soldier into a next higher calling, in a sense. You would arrive. It was like, wow, this is really. You were a part of an elite brotherhood, right? Same with knights. As we look at the knighthood, think about this for a minute. When they became knights, what came with being a knight? Other than your spurs were your knighthood. You were called Sir, like Sir, Sir Jim, Sir Bill. That of course. Whenever anybody who saw you, Sir Bill. I mean that's how they announced you. No, but one of the big things about being a knight was you lived by a code, right? There was now a code you lived by. So you were a step above the soldiers, the common soldiers. You were a step above just the guy in town, the lawyer, the guy, or whoever was there. You lived by a code. And we know that kind of nowadays as the code of chivalry, right? Which we really have to wonder, is chivalry dead? I don't know. Sometimes I really do think it is. And we see a lot more, in stories we see a lot more of the code because, of course they're telling stories, so the knights have to be, just completely living by the code. Or if they aren't, they're totally fallen and all the good guys are after them, I mean, it's part of the story. In reality, they live by a code, and you can see many works, if you go in and look up on the internet, code of, the code of the knight or something, or code of chivalry, you'll pull some stuff up and you're like, wow, these guys really did have to do this. I mean, it's who you were. It just wasn't something you did on, Monday through Friday and then take the weekends off. No, you were that all the time. All the time. So it really makes me wonder, kind of in today's day and age, do you even think this exists anymore? Think about it. Is there a code anymore? I mean, I could kind of say from the military, there is kind of a code with the military, right? I guess you could say first responders, law enforcement. You could go to the medical field, but look, some of the medical field now is breaking their code, right? Look what they've done, Yeah, so some of the stuff is eroding away. It's like, what happened to these codes that we used to live by? Even just growing up, I mean, I remember going to citizenship class in school. Mm-hmm. And it was part of the school day. You would have a little, segment on citizenship, and you'd learn the Pledge of Allegiance. Technically, that is a code, right? You would learn the different things about your country and how to hang a flag, right? What to do when a flag passes, when a funeral passes, what to do. You remember, if I believe you had everybody stopped and it was supposed to face the procession reverently. If you were driving, you would pull to the side and turn your lights. You don't see that anymore. People don't care. Even if the funeral procession has police moving it through the city. They don't care. We have a person. Yeah, well, because we learned that. We grew up with that, yeah. So I'm driving home last night from Flagstaff. And because this is going through my mind here. And this is what really got me thinking deeper about in the sermon here. We're going down 169, and it's dark, so I have my high beams on. Well, I can see there's a car coming, so I pop mine down. And I'm driving, and theirs is not down. And I'm driving, I'm like, man, this guy's going to blind me. So the first thought that went into my mind is kind of the classic thought that a lot of modern people develop. Let me turn mine back on, because I'm gonna blind this guy, because he's blinding me. Why shouldn't I blind him back? I said, no, I'm fine. I can see the side of the road. I don't need to react in that manner. I've wanted to get out of the Jeep many times the last 2 days and walk up to the people who have the snow on their roof still.
Oh, yes, yes.
And shake them and say, take the snow off your roof. Roof of the cars. But again, it's like, no, I pray for them, right? If you really think about it, what about when you're at a store and someone cuts you off in line? You got all your stuff and you're walking up and someone just goes right in front of you. It's like, right nowadays the first response is to just lay into that person. Who do you think you are? What are you doing? But it makes me think to myself, wait a second. Isn't there something written about how we are supposed to act? And thus brings us to our gospel message today, folks. Big build up, right? It was fun. Folks, the passage today is coming from the Beatitudes. And in the Beatitudes, Christ is just giving us this crash course, literally, in one session. You don't have to go to college for it, It's very simple message. He's given us this crash course in how to treat each other. How to live with each other is what it comes down to. What is the key verse in this section that I read? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We called it something back in the day. The golden rule. It is a code to live by. Right? It's simple. Now, it's not super deep theological concept here, which I love a lot of pastors would love to pull out of this. But you know what? Sometimes we don't have to go that deep, but we could just say, hey, what's the simple message? Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Wow. That says it all right there. I didn't want the guy to blind me. I'm not going to blind him back. Let me just do unto him as I would want him to do. If I was at the store and I'm frazzled and I just need to check out real quick because I got to get, so I just jump in line and I cut somebody off. I don't want people yelling at me, so, okay. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Wow, Jesus. That's heavy. That's deep. This guy knows what he's talking about. He really does. And that's why, kind of like Darcy says, what's the name of your sermon? Higher Christianity. It's just not saying I'm a Christian coming to church and then not doing it. You know what I'm saying? We know a lot of Christians that do it like that. You see them at church, but then out in the world, they're acting totally different. Like, wow, that guy's a Christian. We need to live. We need to go one step farther in how we treat people. And that's kind of how Christ is this stuff's pretty, you love your enemy. If you lend somebody something, don't want anything back. That's pretty extreme. But I think what Christ is showing us here is what he's calling for is for a deep Christianity, a deep belief, a deep love for him, a deep love for people, to where if those events ever came up and maybe you are willing to go that far. It's just something a little bit more, in a sense, it's living by a code. And in this case, the golden rule is an easy code and a nice place to start. Very easy. You cannot forget it. We're just so caught up with our own self-interest nowadays, even Christians. We really are. It's about self-interest. I was amazed as the storm hit. For some reason, something changed a little bit in people. When the storm hit, there were people out doing things for others, helping each other, shoveling walks, pulling people out of ditches. Now, wait a minute. That goes against self-interest. But at least it's sad that it has to be a storm or something bad or a disaster to bring out the best in people. We should just live the best every single day of our lives. Even when it's sunny and nice, 80 degrees here in Prescott, we should live the way we would live during, 24 feet of snow in Prescott. A project came out a few years back that was kind of, a lot of ministers scoffed at it and scholars scoffed at it, and there were jokes made about it. It was this little rubber bracelet. And it had 4 letters on it, WWJD on it. And fine, laugh at it. What it meant was, what would Jesus do? Yeah, you could laugh. Oh, it was a scam. Oh, you want to know what? It was probably one of the best little devices that you could give somebody who was trying to live a good life. Because they could put that on there and they would be reminded in every situation. Because sometimes those are kind of irritating. They would be reminded in every situation, oh, what would Jesus do? Wow! What a neat little gimmick, a neat little device. It was simple. It was plastic bracelet. WWJD. And it just, when I was finished up sermon, I just reminded, that's what we have to just think of all day. If you have a problem, like I said, the golden rule is simple. It's small. It's one line. But if you have a problem, people out on TV land, get something like a "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, or something that'll just jar your memory. And the more you do it, once your heart starts to click over and you start living by this code, it's easier to do it. It's just sometimes getting there that sometimes takes a little effort, or a "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, But once you're there and you're living that code, you're living how Christ has told us to live. You're following the example of Christ. You are truly living a higher Christianity that is based on a very good code.